Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, people still overlook you? Like you walk into a room and somehow become invisible? Maybe you speak, but no one really listens. Maybe you work hard, but someone else gets the credit. And slowly, without realizing it, you start telling yourself, that's just how life is. But what if it's not life? What if the way the world responds to you is quietly shaped by the way you see yourself? There was once someone who believed the world was unfair, until one realization changed everything. Stay with me until the end. In a small European town, at the morning market, a young hedgehog named Emile set his small wooden table beside the fountain and lined up the mirrors he had polished all night. A red ribbon hung above his stall, but nobody seemed to see it. A stout boar shoved past, splashing water on the table. "Out of the way," he grunted, not even looking at Emile's face. A magpie in a neat vest leaned in, tapped the largest mirror with a claw, and announced, "I'll take it, half price. It's only glass." Before Emile could answer, the magpie turned to chat with others, as if the deal were already done. Emile opened his mouth, then closed it. He slid the mirror closer, careful as a servant. In the glass, he caught himself. Spines flattened, shoulders tucked, eyes lowered. The mirror did not smile or frown. It simply returned what stood before it. And the market, like the mirror, returned the same. It was never only the boar or the magpie. It was the way the day repeated itself. Emile would greet passers-by softly, and when they didn't answer, he would greet them again, even softer. If someone questioned his work, he rushed to explain every scratch he had prevented, every corner he had sanded smooth, every hour he had spent polishing until his paws stung. When the magpie came back with two friends, Emile's heart jumped as if he were being tested. "We'll pay later," the magpie said, already lifting a mirror. Emile swallowed. "Of course, if you want, I can wait." They learned that word, wait. Soon, others carried it like a key. A squirrel took a hand mirror and promised a coin tomorrow. A goat demanded a discount because the fair is coming. Emile nodded so quickly his ribbon shook. Each evening he packed up the mirrors and saw his reflection again, small in the glass, smaller in his own eyes. On the day of the summer fair, the market swelled into a bright, loud tide. Emile brought his finest mirror, the tall one with a carved walnut frame, and set it where everyone would pass. The mayor's assistant, a stern old ram, approached with a clipboard and a sharp stare. "The council will display this near the stage," the ram said. "Carry it there, carefully." Emile lifted the mirror with both paws, straining as he stepped through the crowd. Laughter and music pressed in from all sides. A cluster of young hares darted across the path, chasing a spinning top. One bumped Emile hard. The frame slipped. Emile grabbed for it, but the weight pulled away. The mirror struck the stones with a crack that silenced the nearest voices. The glass shattered into glittering pieces that caught the sun like cold stars. A hush, then snickers. Someone whispered, "Clumsy." Another voice said, "That's what he gets." The ram's face tightened. "Unreliable," he declared, loud enough for the square to hear. "No one will trust a craftsman who cannot even carry his own work." Emile stood among the shards, cheeks burning, paws trembling, smaller than the broken pieces at his feet. When the crowd drifted away, an old owl in a weathered cloak stepped from the shade of the chestnut tree. He did not scold the hares or argue with the ram. He simply knelt and picked up a curved shard, holding it at a safe distance. "Look," the owl said. Emile stared into the shard and saw his own eye, wide, frightened, pleading without words. In that tiny, bent piece of glass, Emile looked as if he were already asking forgiveness from the world. "The mirror does not invent," the owl murmured. "It reflects." Emile's spines rose with confusion and shame. He wanted to blame the hares, the crowd, the ram's loud voice, yet the shard kept showing the same thing. A craftsman who carried himself like a burden. The owl set the shard down gently. "A mirror cannot mend itself while it is treated like a thing to be stepped on," he said, and walked away. Emile remained, listening to the last echo of the crack, feeling a different kind of break inside, quiet, stubborn, and awake. The next morning, Emile returned to the market before anyone else. He swept the dust from his spot and set his table a little higher, on flat stones he had carried from the riverbank. He tied his ribbon straight. He placed a small sign beside the mirrors. Fair work, fair price. When the magpie arrived, he reached for a mirror as if nothing had happened. "Half price," he chirped, "and I'll pay later." Emile put one paw on the frame, not grabbing, just stopping. He looked up. "Full price," he said, calm as a bell. "And payment now." The magpie blinked. "Since when?" Emile did not rush to explain. "Since today." The magpie scoffed, then noticed Emile's stillness. After a tense pause, he dropped coins onto the table, each one clinking like a small surrender. Later, a goat complained loudly. Emile listened without shrinking, then repeated the price once. A squirrel tried the old promise of tomorrow. Emile shook his head, kindly but firm. He could feel fear in his chest, scratching to escape, but he stayed where he stood. And in the nearest mirror, his reflection stood with him. At first, some animals walked away in anger. Emile watched them go, surprised that the sky did not fall. The market kept moving. The fountain kept singing. Then, new faces lingered. A woodcarver badger traced the walnut frame of a smaller mirror. "This is careful work," the badger said. "You shaped this yourself?" "Yes," Emile answered simply. The badger nodded, respectful, and paid without bargaining. A doe and her daughter stopped for a hand mirror to tuck into a sewing kit. Emile spoke slowly, not pleading, not apologizing, only describing how the glass had been polished and how the frame would not splinter. The doe smiled and thanked him as if he mattered. Even the ram from the council passed by again. He paused, eyes narrowing at the sign. "You're selling again?" he asked. Emile met the ram's gaze. "I never stopped being a craftsman," he said. The ram said nothing more, but the next day a message arrived. The council would purchase a new mirror for the hall, properly paid, properly carried, properly placed. Emile carried the note home and, in his own mirror, watched his face soften with something he had not felt in a long time: steadiness. One evening, Emile set a fresh mirror against his wall and lit a candle beside it. The flame trembled, and the mirror returned its tremble faithfully. Emile stood straight, and the mirror returned that too. He thought of the day he had stood bent in the market, waiting to be treated well, as if respect were a gift that arrived on its own. He understood now why the mirror had always shown him small. The world, like glass, had been answering what he presented. Emile blew out the candle and whispered, not to the mirror, but to the quiet room, "I will not step away from myself. And if this tale leaves a mark, let it be gentle and true. The mirror is always reflecting, so it matters what one chooses to place before it."